name is Stacy Baron. For those of you who do not know me, I am an autism education specialist and an autism parent coach. And I have some of the slides are bilingual so that those who have English as a second language can follow along. And of course, you can always watch the repeat to get the information. So let's get started. All right, we are going to talk about using visual supports at home. And you have to bear with me on my Spanish. So the topic for this training is uso de soportes visuales en casa, using visuals at home. And it's very important to have strategies built into the home environment, not just at school. All right, so some of the common questions I get from parents when I say, I get a call and I say, do you have visuals in place at home? And parents say, what are visuals? Why do I need visuals? And which visuals do I use? A lot of times parents will say, oh, yes, at school they're using visuals. However, visuals have a really important part in the household for many, many things, and we're going to talk about that. So my goal is that at the end of this training, everyone leaves with a different perspective on visuals, and everyone's excited about using visuals in the home and wants to learn more. So what are visual supports? ¿Qué son los soportes visuales? Visuals can be pictures, they can be drawings, they can be objects, it can be written words, it can be lists. The idea is that visuals are items that are posted, written, placed in various places in the home to communicate with a child who has difficulty understanding or using language, using communication in an efficient way. So we want to have those visuals in place because we know our kiddos who are diagnosed with autism are visual learners. They process visually very well. Visuals also support a very important way to communicate information. And that communication can be both ways. It can be parent, caregiver communicating information to the child, or it can be the child communicating information to the parent or caregiver. So it's very important to realize how visuals can play a really important role in communication both ways. So let's move on, and bear with me, this is a new program, so I'm making sure that I can navigate the PowerPoint and see your comments. So let's talk about those types of visuals. We have visual schedules, which are able to communicate where to go. ¿Dónde? Where do I go? And one of the things that a lot of teachers, parents get confused about is what a visual schedule is for. And the important thing to remember is the visual schedule tells you where to go. For example, if it's at home, the visual schedule will tell you, you're going to the bathroom, or you're going to the kitchen for a meal, you're going to your room for bedtime. Your visual schedules tell you where to go. Your visual supports visuales, tell you, okay, what? What do I do once I get there? What do I do when I get to the bathroom? These are the things that can communicate. Pull your pants down, those tasks that you do to complete the potty. So your child should have in place at home, and we'll talk about what that looks like, but they should have a visual schedule, and the visual schedule tells them where to go, right? What's coming next, where to go, and that visual support is going to tell them, what do I do when I get there? What do I do when I get to the bathroom? Why do we need visuals? ¿Por qué necesito visuales? ¿Por qué? Well, visuals provide predictability, tells children what to expect. Visual schedules establish structure, which is extremely important. Routines and structure help children navigate their day. And for those of you who are joining us where Spanish is a little bit more helpful, I'm going to switch back and forth with this slide in terms of providing predictability and establishing structure. So there will be a slide with in Espanol. Another thing that visuals do is they reduce anxiety. Think about if you have a calendar or a grocery list, that visual of looking at your calendar, looking at your GPS, it lowers your anxiety when you know what to do. It reminds you what you have to pick up at the store or what time is the doctor's appointment. Visual supports also help a lot with transitioning from stopping play to getting ready for bed, transitioning from stopping television to get ready to get on the school bus, transitioning from math homework to reading homework. Those visuals will really help your kiddo get through their day and make life less chaotic because it communicates to them what to expect. It also facilitates independence. When I think about visual supports in terms of a lot of times as caregivers and parents, we prompt our kids, we stand next to them, we prompt. If we have those visuals in place, and that's the visual supports that tell them what to do when they get there, that is going to facilitate independence. And we want to really shoot for those goals of having that visual support so that you can just tell your kiddo, go get ready for school or go get ready for soccer practice, and they are able to look at their visual and go through the visual schedule, the visual support, get everything together and be ready for whatever is coming next. That independence is very important. I know it's hard to let go. Those of us who are mommies, it's hard. We like our kids meeting us, but we want to set our children up for independence, independent adult life. They're not going to be little kids forever. And we want to build that, that self-esteem with knowing you can do something on your own. The other thing that's so great about visuals, it allows you to introduce change. So if you have that visual schedule and you were supposed to go to the zoo and the zoo, let's say there's a storm and the zoo is closed, you can switch that visual schedule so that your child knows when they look at the schedule, there has been a change, and it will communicate to them in the way they process, which is visually, so that they'll still be disappointed, but they will be able to process the information a little bit better because the change is indicated on the visual schedule. It's the same in terms of in the school if the computer lab is closed down, let's say you're having a snow day and school is not going to be in session that day, you can quickly switch that visual schedule so that your child can see what to expect and what the change is. It also reinforces verbal instructions. Verbal instructions to a lot of our children, young adults, teens with autism, it is just blah, 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 blah. So when we are using those long phrases and they're trying to process, we sometimes think they're not following directions and they're just processing differently or maybe taking a little bit longer. So the verbal instructions will be reinforced if you have those visuals in place. And this is from complicated things to how to wash your clothes to really simple things to what's expected in regards to getting your homework finished. And I don't know if you guys can hear that thunder. I'm hoping that we don't have any power outages. All right, so let's move on to aquí está en español, for those of you who need this for backup. 9 reasons to use visuals. This is one of my favorite images, and it's maybe hard for you guys to see, but I will just talk through them quickly in terms of visuals are permanent, right? Our words disappear into the air. Poof, they're gone. After you finish commenting or giving directions, it's gone. If you have that visual there for your child, then they're going to be able to process it because the visual stays, our words disappear. Visuals also allow for language processing, right? And that goes along with those visuals being permanent. It makes a huge difference in terms of getting our kids to follow through, to finish a task on time, or just to get ready for school. That's always one of those things. Morning is such a rush time. Your visuals prepare for transitions. It helps your child know what you mean because that visual makes it very clear. Remember, autistic kiddos are very concrete in their thinking. We have to keep that in mind. And visuals, it builds that independence, which is so exciting. And for you as a parent or a caregiver, it's great to be able to say, go get this together, go do this, and they can get all of that done. It helps to reduce that anxiety. And this is one that I want to talk about for just a minute in terms of a lot of times parents will say, oh, we used visuals when they were younger. They don't need them anymore. Well, they may not need the visuals they had when they were younger, but visuals look different as our children grow older. And I'll mention that later in the PowerPoint, but it's really important to know the visuals help to reduce anxiety. And so to have that visual as a backup, even though your child knows the routine, if it's a day where they wake up, things aren't going well, that visual helps to reduce the anxiety. Think of it in terms of if you know a route to a doctor's office and you only go every 6 months and you take exit 5, before you get off on your exit, you're going to check your GPS, I guarantee, once or twice to make sure it was exit 5. That visual reduces your anxiety of feeling like you're going to miss your exit or you're going to get lost. It's the same for our kiddos, but with a lot of little things. So keep those visuals. They just don't have to be baby visuals as they get older. They can look different. Okay, so those of you who are active, right, in your child's education, and that should be everyone, visuals at school should be individualized for each student, right? And these are just little examples of what visual schedules can look like. And so I wanted to just put this in the PowerPoint so that you all can ask, the teacher, send me a picture of their visual schedule if you haven't had a chance to go to the classroom to see it. And if you do go to the classroom and you notice that everyone's visual schedule looks the same, then you need to have a little chat with the teacher and ask her if she needs some support around how to use individualized visual schedules. All right, the benefits of using visual schedules in the home. It's really simple. Chaos to calm. I cannot tell you how much visuals make a difference in having that less chaos and more calm, because transitions are eased, anxiety is reduced, that sort of reinforcement of what was I supposed to do? What did my mom just give directions, or what did dad just say? Those visual supports in the home really make the household less chaotic. The classroom as well. All right, so I wanted to show some examples of visual schedules that can be used in the home. Remember, they're not just for the classroom and school setting. So a daily visual schedule, right, can be, and this is an example of when it's school, but it's the same concept, right? Things that you do at home, the order that you do them. And for those of you who may be homeschooling, there's also a great starting visual if your child is just being introduced to visuals. If they are younger, you can use what we call a first then, primero, luego, which I'm probably saying that incorrectly and I apologize, but I'm trying my best. I have to, yo necesito practicar español. And another visual is choice making. It is very important for children to be able to communicate their choices. So these visuals communicate a caregiver to the child, right? What is expected, what they need to do. This visual support is a way for a child to communicate to a parent or caregiver. And this is going to be a second part to the training, but I'll quickly just talk about first then is first the non-preferred activity, then the preferred activity. So first we do academic practice on our iPad, then we play games on our iPad, right? First we work, then we get a paycheck. First then is not first I do math, then I do reading, unless reading is highly reinforcing for your child. All right, another visual is, this is a visual that's really great. It's a visual support. And it's a little bit of a combination of a social story in terms of I go to the potty, and when they get to the bathroom, even though you've been prompting them, we want to back off on that prompting. So if you have this posted on the wall in front of them, in front of the toilet, or on the side, then your child will be able to give them a chance to go through it. Give them time to process. They can do a lot of things. Back off on the verbal prompts, give them those visuals, and give them a chance to show you they can be successful and independent. This is another example in terms of brushing your teeth. And this, of course, age appropriateness, right? This may be for a younger child who is learning to potty train, and this may be for an older child because most of the time our younger kids were still brushing their teeth to make sure it's really clean. Which visuals do I use? So this is one of those things that, when you go on Pinterest, there's like 100 million visuals. Everything looks perfect and beautiful, and some parents are crafty. Visuals don't have to be beautiful. They just have to be available and accessible. That's all I ask of parents. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be beautiful. They just have to be available and accessible. And in terms of knowing which visuals to use, one of the struggles that a lot of the parents that I work with or call me for a free consult, they will say, I tried using visuals and they didn't work. And then after I ask questions and figure out what visuals they used and how they used them, a lot of times it's the wrong visuals. So one of the benefits of me being able to provide parent coaching to parents is I can help parents with choosing and provide them with the visuals that fit the needs of their child. And for my families who have more than one child in a home that is diagnosed with autism, the visuals look different for each kiddo. So when you think about which visuals you should use visuals that support and meet the needs of that individual child. And remember, it changes over time. As your child gets older, they may resist the visuals, and that's because it's not age appropriate. They're past the pictures. They're past the baby pictures. Maybe they want real pictures of them actually doing the task. So think about that in terms of you have to, just like everything else we change as they grow, that's the same with visuals. Sometimes kids want to transition just to words when they can read. Aquí está en español. All right, very quickly, for those of you who have little children under the age of 3, a lot of times parents feel that, my child's not looking at the visuals, they're not attending to the visuals, because some children need object schedules. And so this is just an example of a really simple object schedule for a home. And if you'll notice this visual schedule, it's just 4 things. A little one doesn't need to have a whole line of visuals. So these 4 things are the key things, right? We eat, we clean up, we brush our teeth, and we comb our hair. And it varies for each child. And in terms of a child who can use a picture schedule, you don't necessarily want to use a picture schedule for the entire day. You might want to use just the morning, and then you switch it out for the after school, and then you switch out a new visuals for the evening. You don't want it to be too overwhelming, and then you decide either with assistance from a parent coach or the teacher or maybe your child's therapist, you decide which pictures your child needs on the visual schedule. It's very individualized. That's the important thing to remember. I think a lot of times families get frustrated with visuals because they haven't been sort of taught how to use the visuals, and they haven't been able to figure out which visuals their child needs. So use your resources, your child's teacher, therapist, if you have access to a parent coach. All right, so I've talked a little bit about visuals. I could talk about visuals for a very long time, but it is the evening and I wanted to just give a little bit of information. I will be back with more on visuals and examples and some videos. But I hope that everyone's ready to think about implementing visual schedules and visual supports. And if you'll see, these visuals, there's so many things that can be used for visuals for you to communicate to your child or for your child to communicate to you. And I love this phrase in terms of what children with autism wish you knew. And it is that I am visually oriented and I need to see something to learn it. So show me rather than telling me. And I'm not saying that you cannot use verbal words. I'm saying make sure that it is short, quick, and back it up with those visuals, and you will see a world of difference. I guarantee you, every parent that I work with, and when they get those visuals implemented, it's amazing how something so simple can make such a big difference in the household. And for your child to be able to communicate and to be able to complete a task and get through their daily activities. So I will talk in the next trainings about the various type of visuals. I'll go more into first then, how to use a visual schedule. I'll have some videos, and then I'll have some videos of implementing visual supports in the home. And I hope you all join me for that. So I will leave everyone with a reminder about visuals, visuals, visuals. Again, I am Stacy Badon. I am the founder of Everything Autism. It is something I'm very passionate about in terms of educating and empowering parents so that they can be their child's expert. And learning strategies is so important. Understanding autism is so important. And I thank everyone for joining me so that I could share this information that I just love to talk about. And my email is here on